as high stakes meeting, Abhinav would more likely than not go sit at the back, become invisible, and happy being there, right? And amazing perfectionism, right? So there is this really real need for people like Abhinav to want to be a perfectionist. Everything needs to be perfect. There has to be validation for everything that is done, right? And they wait for the recognition to come to them, right? They hope that, oh, all the work that I've done, I hope, they hope that all this is going to be get recognized by the manager. Maybe the manager even recognizes, but then think about it. In your role, wherever you are, right? Most of you are here, I believe, are in mid-level leadership roles. Your manager can't get you promoted. It's your manager's manager, or maybe the cross-department manager, right? So in case of Abhinav, he just hoped that my manager will recognize. And the fact was the manager held him in high regard because he was, you brought in the results, but never really, you know, did anything to sponsor him. And, he wasn't spoken about when Abhinav himself wasn't in the room. His manager wouldn't vouch for him and speak up for him and say, okay, this guy is, if you're looking for somebody in XYZ role, you should look at Abhinav. Nobody did that for Abhinav. Why? Right? It's a simple thing. Is there is huge reluctance in people like Abhinav to delegate strategic tasks. Abhinav wanted to do all by himself because there's a reputation at stake. So everything needs to be done. So what comes out of it? Basically, first thing is he was known to be solid performer. There's a name tag, right? Awesome performer, great. But no compensation, falling behind in salary, right? Lack of strategic exposure because nobody gives him anything strategic because there's, everybody knows Abhinav is going to be super busy, right? With his firefighting, daily management of issues and incidents, and just making sure the KPIs are pushed. And manager loves it, right? So manager's like, oh, wow, this guy, I need him there, right? What it eventually leads to is absolute stagnation. Abhinav was stuck in that role for 4 years, being the best performer, amazing results. Nothing happened because of the perfectionism and lack of delegation. It just moves nowhere. All Abhinav needed was to let go and understand that strategically he was getting no value from hoarding and doing things all by himself. He needed to delegate a lot of that thing. And some of you might be, I am delegating. But again, think about all the strategic things that you were asked to do, and are you delegating all of them, right? So that's where the crux is. So that makes a lot of difference. And once it was understood, skyrocketed. Career just kept moving. Every 1 year, he was easily getting promoted, right? To a point when Abhinav started his own digital marketing firm. And that's the difference. That's where all of that happens, right? When you have that breakthrough on knowing what needs to be done, you can get to where Abhinav is. He's making a little more than 12.5 lakhs per month in turnover. And that's big on digital marketing field, right? The confidence to be able to do that came from the fact that he grew in his organization fairly quickly once he realized that that's basically what there are certain aspects, systems that he can implement that gets him different places, right? So that's where the whole bit about I believe my work is going to get me places comes in, right? It does not. You have to speak for it. So the next one I have is you are the other big problem I see with a lot of leaders is perfectionism, like with Abhinav, but then this is over a certain extent, right? Where you believe there is a self-doubt, especially before taking something new. right? So a new project or a new initiatives who put their high stakes meeting comes in, your leader says, okay, I need somebody to run this. It's got the CEO's eyes, this meeting. I know a lot of leaders who will basically come up with excuses like, oh, I'm busy this month. I know there's some event or function happening at home. I may not be able to focus, so I don't want to do it. Or, oh, I'm not good at certain aspects of this project. The project requires, I'm not good at it. So let me not put my hand up. There's always some excuse that you pull back. Oh, I'm not 100% ready. I'm not 100% ready to run this project. So no, I'll not put up, let somebody else put up the hand, right? So that is what was happening with uh, Ananya as well. Excuse me. It has to be perfect. Everything I do has to be perfect. That's the mentality that she was running in. You operate in the belief that deliverable presentation or any new initiative must be flawless. It has to be perfect. It doesn't. It Your actions are, people like Ananya, your actions are, driven by or heavily governed by the desire to avoid criticism. Nobody should criticize my work. There should be no judgment, or this whole perception of incompetence shouldn't be there, right? You conflate mistakes, like it's a big crime, and that's where the problem is. And that is imposter syndrome. It's a relentless pursuit of this, of coping mechanism of our imposter syndrome. Most of you believe that, success is a fluke. I got here by luck, right? And if I make a mistake, what if they understand that I'm undeserving, right? And there is avoidance of any high profile project or anything that can get you a lot of eyes on you. There's attention on you. You don't want to do that. In Ananya's case, she wouldn't even apply for roles because there were seniors in the team. She thought, oh no, let them go through it. I'll apply later once they get through. But they weren't half as good as she was. Neither did they get promoted. Ananya didn't even try for promotions. And that's where the problem is. You don't want to speak up in meetings because what if I say something wrong? You will then later on speak to your manager directly, one-on-one. Of course, you could do that. That's one way of doing it. But the problem is that you are not seen as promotion ready in that case, right? And that's where the problem is. So with Ananya, it required a lot of conversations, coaching to know that you don't need to be 100% ready to take on a new project. Know that in any organization, there are support systems. If you're 20% ready, if you feel like I know 20% of it, go for it. Just take a dive, right? And there are excuses. It's just useless to think about all the other excuses. Again, people are willing to help if you ask for it, right? If you are delegating enough, if you've built a good support system around you, you can do it. How to do that is something that you've got to learn, and that's something that I can teach, right? So you have to build that visibility with your stakeholders. Making sure that you understand exactly how to get it done is really, really important. In Ananya's case, things turned out that within about 6 to 7 months, she got a little more than 50% hike in the same organization. It's not even that she took a jump to another organization, because people started to see her value. When you break out of that mental block, self-sabotaging behavior, you can actually make it really visible for the rest of it. The group, everybody around you will actually start taking notice. And that's what happened with Ananya, right? So it's not rocket science. It's basic principle of how relationships and networking work. And how, as an introvert, I specialize in introversion. I'm an introvert myself. There are systems that can be put in place that will help you move to different places, get amazing results, right? So moving on, let's talk about asking. I spoke about it, and if you ask, you will get it. Most of us, and I know for myself, I struggle with this. I am not someone who's used to asking for support or help. It's really difficult for me, and that held me back in my career a whole lot. And so did Priyanka, right? So this is another case study that I have, who was also very hesitant to ask for anything. She would worry about being seen as selfish. What if they see me as selfish? Including, see, you have to ask for increase in your salary as well. I know a lot of people will be like, no, they will give me an increase, whatever they think is right. A lot of people never ask for increase. Remember this whole saying, they say that squeaky wheels get the grease, or crying baby gets the milk, right? So I'm not saying pester and annoy people with asking over and over again. There is a way of asking. There is a right way of asking, and knowing how to ask shifts that other person's way of looking at you. They'll start seeing you as someone who is highly valuable and deserves an increase. That's the way you need to communicate. That is a way you need to communicate. There are systems that you can learn. So this whole zero sum belief is self-sabotaging belief. What is a zero sum belief, right? You believe that career rewards, like projects, opportunities, promotions, high visibility projects, are finite. There's only so much that is available. I've seen entrepreneurs, I know some of you here are entrepreneurs as well. You believe that as well, right? There's only so much. There is competition. There is people who will take the pie, right? Bite into the pie. So you will only expect this much. So you don't ask. You don't ask for support from your people that you know, people who might be more than willing to help you, but you never ask for it, right? And you feel like if you go and ask, you're taking away from that pie and others will not get it. So you're worried about others, which aligns with the whole idea that you're being selfish, right? So, like I said in another case study that I was speaking earlier as well, the first one, you feel like, oh, if I take that opportunity away, there are seniors in my team, or peer leaders that are there who are much more senior than me. Maybe they should apply. You look up to certain people. So if they are applying, how can I apply? Right? It just doesn't work like that. Even lateral moves that I know, people who didn't apply, although they were very well deserving, very well qualified, because their manager applied for that role, right? They were moving laterally. It could have been a higher role for you. Why? How does it matter anyway? It shouldn't matter, right? So you should go ahead. So the if you feel like I'll wait for my turn and earn the right to get promoted or get the salary increase, just doesn't work. You have to ask for it, and that's what changed for Priyanka, right? It's important to promote yourself. When I say promote yourself, market yourself. If you have achieved something, hoot your own horns in the right way so that it doesn't look like you're hooting your own horns, right? You're basically promoting the work that you're doing. There are ways to do that too. There's something called impact brief that I teach, which is basically AI based. You input some things with and use ChatGPT to get a really good statement about what you've achieved, and it will make it sound absolutely, you know, clean and clear in a way that it's just, you will feel proud of yourself, right? And that's what makes the difference. And in case of Priyanka, she got 2 senior leader promotions in 1 year, and it's not something that is undoable, right? A lot of people, when I say this, also say, oh no, my organization says that I need to spend 12 months or 24 months or 18 months, whatever your organization says, in the same role before I can get promoted. But look, those are guidelines. Those are not etched on stone that they have to follow it. Those are excuses. Those are loop. Let's just say that those are statements that are reserved to keep certain people away from asking questions, right? But those are just simple guidelines. Those are not rules that has to be adhered to. Yeah. So moving on, the fourth one is unclear about next step. I started off with this, right? So you don't know what to do. What is the next priority? Unable to really prioritize what needs to be done, sticking to it, and then just focusing your attention entirely on it and moving forward. Show you another case study of Siddharth, right? Again, another dear friend of mine. In this case, an entrepreneur running small business, right? Constantly doubted himself, feared rejection, worried about what will they say, what if I don't succeed, right? So those are mental beliefs that keeps you back, holds you back. Now, in case of Abhinav, he wouldn't go for any project that is more than a certain amount of money because he thought, oh, my team is, maybe not capable, not being able to prioritize what is necessary. So what also happened was there's this shiny object syndrome. If you haven't heard about it, basically, you see anything shiny, you want to put your attention to that. For example, there is a role that comes up, you feel like, oh, this is a good role that I want to apply. But then there is another role that comes up, you're like, that is also a good role, so you apply for that. And then there is another role, you apply for that. What you're doing is you're basically confusing everybody around you. So nobody will support you in that growth opportunity, right? That's what's happening in business as well. In case of Siddharth, was, he looked at one opportunity, is like, oh yeah, this is good, and then moves to next and spreads himself thin enough to not being good at anything, right? In case of a company where you are employed, everybody around you are like, what is this person really looking for? They have no clue, you have no clarity, so they don't support you with anything, right? So it's this problem of being easily distracted and not having that single mindedness to achieve what you really are good at and you can achieve. That's where the problem is. Now, once Siddharth broke out of it, he started making a lot of money. He started taking on big projects, because otherwise he would say, oh, this is too big for my company. You can go. He used to send business to his competitors, believe it or not. It's amazing how people can sometimes do stupid things, right? So that's where the problem is. That happens in career as well. The same thing. You basically think that, oh, I'm not good enough in this role, so I'll not apply. Or there's an extreme version where you're applying for pretty much everything that comes, and people looking at you are like, don't know how to support you, right? So that's a problem as well. I'm not saying not to have backups, by the way. It's good to have it, but keep it narrow, not everything that you see, right? So that's really, really important. You have to be able to create a perception around you that is very clear to others, right? So that's one. Because otherwise you will focus on multiple things. You have inconsistent skill development as well, right? You have vague career conversation. When somebody asks, okay, what do you want to do next, you have vague career, you don't know, you say something stupid, vague, right? You don't know how to prioritize tasks. You just create chaos in your mind as well. So long-term projects, if there is a project that needs to go for 2 years, you are not the person they will look for, because they'll be like, oh, this person, I don't know, I can't take risk giving it to this person, because in another 2 weeks this person might just say that there's another project that they want to focus on. So I don't want to invest my time and effort and trust this person with a big project. So they don't give you high stakes project, which could have been, say, a lot of organizations have these tests, unsaid tests that are given out to see how you do, and then see you as the next promotion capable person. Doesn't happen if you are basically going everywhere, right? So that's a problem. And I'll tell you about the fifth one, which is about great humor in a strategic promotion ready. This is one of the most common ones that I see, especially a relatively lower mid-level leader, say a team leader or an manager role. I see a lot of people who are for what they've done really fast, and that's what's happening with Santosh as well. Is that really good at what had been done, so it's got a high value in the organization, right? So perfect, very good, top performer, has done. So get this level, or maybe even an assistant manager, you get there. But after that, you're absolutely stagnant, because you are known for one thing in that team. You've grown within, you haven't moved laterally, you haven't moved to another department to learn something new, experience something new. You haven't put yourself out there. So you were just known for one aspect. So they will depend on you like crazy. They hold you in very high value, right? High performer, but low potential trap. High performer, but great at fixing problems, great at fixing issues. But that micro focus leads you to be valued for that role. So even if you apply for another role, sabotage could come from your close stakeholders, current stakeholders. They'll be like, no, this guy needs to be there because we are dependent on him. That's a problem, right? So operational excellence, metrics, and accuracy, all of that is something that you hold really close to and you are amazingly good at. But when it comes to anything else besides that, outside of work, you struggle with it. That's what was happening with Santosh as well. Until I helped him move strategically into another lateral move, got cross-functional strategy, and within 6 months he was getting promoted, and then another 6 months got promotion again. And it's just that's the way to move, right? So you have to be able to learn new things, learn new skills, let the people know that there is something beyond what I'm doing that I'm interested in. I'm willing to invest my time and effort to learn that so that I can move forward. And it works especially if you want to move from one organization to another organization, a dream organization that you have. That's where it helps. Now, we've come a bit. Yeah. Now, first thing, how many of you can resonate with any one of these? If, give me a count on the Q&A session. These 5 different things that I spoke about so far, right? Sorry, this is 6 basically, right? Yeah, well, I'll talk about gravitas a little later, but so far 5. Okay, so a lot of people gave me 2, 1, 5, 5, 3. So the thing is that a lot of what I said now are interrelated. So it may be hard to put a number to, but then you have some idea of where it is, right? So these self-sabotaging behavior is most prevalent amongst a lot of leaders across the industry. And the fact is that it is not too difficult to come out of it. Yeah. So first thing that I will touch upon is gravitas. Yeah. So what is gravitas? A lot of people don't understand this concept. There's executive presence. A lot of people come and say, oh, now should I be wearing tie and should I be wearing blazers? And, uh, they think a lot of that has to do with appearance, but it is not. If you think about it, think about some leader that you look up to, right? In your organization, maybe outside of organization, you will notice that a lot of them aren't valued for how they look or their skill or their ability to know the subject or their subject matter expertise. This is not really the point, right? There is something else. When they walk into a room, everybody gravitates towards them. They will look at that person and say hi, even if they are not the senior most per role. There are some people that pull their attention. Yeah. If you agree, if you notice that, give me a in the chat. So agree, right? So you see some people that are just something about them. A lot of people call it charisma, but it is not really charisma as well, right? You don't have to be charismatic. It's no, there is something else, right? And you can't place your finger on it and say, okay, this is what it is. No, that is gravitas, and that has got a lot to do with the combination of all of this. First one is it's not appearance, right? How you physically appear is not the point at all. And in fact, you will notice in your mind that when you think about that one person, they are not necessarily the best dressed. Could be, but that's not really the point, right? It's about being silent when chaos is around you, being able to hold the fort, being able to sort of bring calm when everything around you is chaotic, right? There is, say, a big incident happening or a small incident happening. You will notice that everybody will look at this one person who's calm and composed. They know what needs to be happening. So analogy, right? You're flying on, say, uh, 35,000 feet, right? Plane, terrible hits, and then panic on, the pilot comes and they're like, oh my God, just hold on, please hold on to each other, oxygen mask comes down, he starts shouting and, saying things quite fast. How do you feel? Panic more already. Now it is just absolute chaos. But then pilot comes in and says, okay, gentlemen, is fine. We are hitting a rough patch of, weather. Will be out of another 10 minutes or what, and we'll have a smooth sailing. Everybody's calm, right? So that is what is gravitas. It's not about how you appear or your skills. Nothing of that matters. Being able to listen, it's a skill. A lot of people think that they're good at listening until it actually comes to the wire. I know a lot of people who come to me and say, "Oh, I'm great at listening, Rakesh. I don't need training on that." And then when I really dig in, they're terrible at listening. So your own self-assessment is really, really important. Self-awareness is the most important thing. So there are amazing systems you can put in place, simple systems that you can put in place to build gravitas, right? And it has taken me years to get into that, be able to actually put it down systematically. That has taken me years to get it done, but it is there. And then I'll give you a bonus one, right? So the seventh one, you think you have everything you need. If any of you resonate with the 7 point, you think you don't need help. You've come a long way and you can go the rest of the distance all by yourself. You don't need help. I was one of them. Yeah, I thought I don't need a mentor. Right? It was difficult for me to accept that somebody else will need to will tell me something that I'll find value in it. I thought I know everything. Right? There is this ego. Right? If you are one of those person, put an E in it. You thought you don't need help. You don't need coach. You don't need a mentor. Right? If you're one of them, let me know in the chat, no, in the Q&A, right? If you E. Bring bringing us back to this. Now, how many of you, if you can put it in one word on what you saw on the video, what was your learning? What did you take out of it? One thing that you took out of it. Put it on the Q&A. No, some of you said audio was a problem. Yeah. But you could read the subtitle. But basically, from what I said, what do you take out of it? What's your learning? How it applies something that you need to look at. Your potential is not what you're living now. Your potential is what you're going to be, what you're becoming is more important. So, how do you get that? By yourself, possible, but then it will take a long time, right? And then this understanding is quite profound if you really sit with it and think, really do think. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I've given you the link to the video. So what are mid-career professionals saying? Again, these are testimonials. These are all on my website, and feel free to check it out. I don't want to spend time on it. So tomorrow, what we will do is we will go with the 3 shifts, the transformation. I will talk about what comes out with AI augmented leader. So I'll give you tools that will help you move forward with this, right? I'll give you 3 tools basically, and I'll give it to you later on as well. I'll give you the links to the Word documents and the forms that you can use to actually do three things. One is, how do you understand what you are, what kind of a leader you are? Again, it's not about being labeled, it's about identity, right? How do you bring visibility? I'll give you a test that you can actually, it's not a test, it's more of an assessment, a simple quick assessment on a spreadsheet that you can do by yourself. And then how do you ask raise, or not just raise, or anything for that matter, if it is promoted, don't